Anna O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dawes.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
We're going to talk all things NFL in the divisional round, but before we get to that, I just need to gauge, Taylor Dahl, how nervous are you?
Very. Very.
About 7.5 hours away from kickoff.
Yeah, I said in the meeting, we had our promo meeting earlier, and I was like, I've already teared up multiple times this morning just watching hype videos and people's posts about how they, everybody has their own story of how they became a fan of whatever team they cheer for. And so seeing some people's posts about, since they were a kid and with their dad or grandpa who is no longer here, which is a very similar story to what I have, those are the emotions of it's beyond football. So those little things start to trickle in big games like this. And it was like that for the World Series. I cried for 2 months straight after the World Series because of that. But yeah, I'm very nervous. I've tried not to think about it too much. Last night I was like, I'm not going to be able to sleep if I start thinking about this game right now. So I tried to just not until today, but it's unavoidable on Twitter right now. So
yeah, it's a huge game, obviously, for the national championship. You have Ohio State now at an 8.5-point favorite is the latest that I saw against Notre Dame. We'll talk about the game certainly in detail in a little bit, but I just needed to know how you are feeling as we have 2 hours to discuss all things football. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. My favorite Martin Luther King Jr. quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that."
I love
certainly
that.
A quote that you've heard for many years, but I always want to differentiate. Sports hate is not the same as hate. When if I say I hate Ohio State, or Taylor
I hate
says
Aaron Rodgers.
She hates Aaron Rodgers. I do want to differentiate. That is not true hatred. That is sports hatred.
Yeah.
That
Aaron
is just,
Rodgers, maybe.
that is just a vehement dislike for someone because they represent a rival. Azeez Al-Shaair, I vehemently dislike because not only is he on a rival team in the Texans, but also I think he's a dirty player. That's different than the type of hatred that Martin Luther King was dealing with.
Yes. Yeah, and that quote's beautiful, and there's so many ways you can look and unwrap that quote and how it factors into so many different things in life. And I think that's what was beautiful about Martin Luther King Jr. is, yes, we all know what that direct quote was going to, but the different things that it can relate to in people's lives now. And that's why he is such an important person in our history, because when you look at everything that he's done, but just the words that he has spoken that have just traveled through time and honestly make even more sense today than maybe it did at that time for a lot of people.
I didn't know we had to come with an MLK quote, so I'm going to Google those while we get ready.
You don't have to. It's just when I think of today, and I certainly think of everything that MLK Jr. represents, it's something that has transcended time, and it's something that our country still deals with. I hope that with every passing year that we get closer to unity versus and embracing diversity versus how things used to be. But yeah, you don't have to have a quote. We can just talk football. We'll kick things off with the Chiefs beating the Texans 23-14. By the way, 2 pushes over the weekend.
I know.
That doesn't, for our picks, it's whatever, but how many gamblers out there were so upset with that safety that Andy Reid called to end that game? But look, to me, the story of the game, not just Mahomes and how he constantly wins in the postseason. 7 years he started in this league and 7 AFC championships. To me, it's about the pass rush that the Chiefs had with the 8 sacks on CJ Stroud.
It's insane because that's a byproduct of the new Mahomes era, which is weird to say because he's only been a starter in the league for 7 years, and the fact that we've already gotten to part 2 of however many parts it'll be of his career, and we've already entered the phase of he's on a monster contract, and so they had to hit on those later round draft picks. They had to bank on draft picks, 22-year-old fresh out of college players becoming starters right away for them, both sides of the ball, but certainly on the defensive side of the ball. And they've gone from being one of the greatest shows on turf in the first 3 to 4 years of Patrick Mahomes being a starter to having one of the best defenses in the NFL in the second 3 or 4 year phase of his career. And it's a credit to tribute to Steve Spagnuolo, who it doesn't matter where he's been. I know obviously as a head coach, maybe it didn't work out as well as many hoped it would. But as a defense coordinator, it doesn't matter the locale. He continues to have success. And I don't think anything was more defining, Lauren, than in the fourth quarter, at the start of the fourth quarter, when he called like 4 straight blitzes. And the Texans were just like, well,
Had no answer. Yeah.
What are we supposed to do? And at that point in time, I think they had maybe had one design blitz the entire game.
Yeah.
And then he just hit him in the mouth all at once. And
Their offensive line, I felt like, was getting worn down by the time that game ended. They're not great to start off with, but they were getting abused.
It's well calculated, and it's good coaching to recognize that and say, okay, now's where we step on your throat. And that's what the Chiefs do. Love it, hate it in the other sense. Like, it's just, this is who they are. And they're back in the AFC title game, and AFC runs through Arrowhead just like it ran through Gillette Stadium once upon a time.
Yes,
and that's part of it with the Chiefs, is Andy Reid and the Chiefs in general can find a weakness and completely expose it to the highest amount that you can possibly expose somebody's weakness, and that's what makes them who they are. Even in a game when Patrick Mahomes has 1 passing touchdown and 177 yards, you are still able to beat a team by almost 10 points because you're
177 yards, and 117 of those went to one player, and that's Travis
Kelce. Yes. And not even, honestly, it's like some big chunk plays, but it is, and it's funny watching Travis Kelce in these games too, because he just looks so slow compared to what he used to. It's I saw a tweet and someone said he's like outslows players on the field, and like that's the type of player he is at this point. But he's wide open sitting in the middle of the field, even when he can't outspeed people and can't do those things. It's still Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. But I do think that a lot of the storyline coming out of this was obviously the refs, and that's something that I think we just at this point have to deal with.
Maybe they were aware that the Texans are a dirty team too.
And that's why I heard Dan and Jeff saying that this morning. If it was only this game, I'd say okay. But Patrick Mahomes, like, he has been known to slide late. That's been a thing. They need to start keeping an eye on that, because that's super dangerous. Number one, there's a reason that people were criticizing the Trevor Lawrence one, because Patrick Mahomes gets away with it. And so everyone's like, well, quarterbacks do it all the time. No, Patrick Mahomes does it all the time. And so now people were saying that's Trevor's fault because Patrick Mahomes does it. And so they do need to start keeping an eye on that, because it's dangerous for quarterbacks. It's dangerous. It turns some players into hits that maybe should not have been called into getting called, or it turns into injuries, or it turns into, honestly, you slide late or fake slide, and then it turns into a defensive player backing up because they don't want to hit you, and then you get an extra 10 yards. So they have to start eyeing some of those things, but also make your field goals. Feel free to make an extra point in your field goals when you need to, because that is what ended up making this even as far as it was. You had an opportunity to be in this game, and you missed 2 field goals and an extra point. You're leaving 7 points on the field. And so, blame the refs, blame Patrick Mahomes, blame all of those things. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I think between missing the kicks and your offensive line, which, yes, I think the Texans this year, their offensive line was bottom 3 in the league. It was very, very bad. And the Texans have to be eyeing that, because it's not realistic for any quarterback to succeed behind a line like that.
Which is funny, because last year they were, statistically speaking, by PFF metrics, the most injured offensive line. They had the most starting 5s of any team in the National Football League. And they were better, right? Yeah. So, like, where was that disconnect? I think that's something that they'll be studying all off season.
Well, Stroud, I think, from year 1 to year 2, played a lot differently.
Correct.
And so I think a quarterback can make the offensive line look better if they make better decisions. Mm-hmm. And then a quarterback can also make an offensive line look really bad at times when they hold the ball too long and things like that. I think we saw that a little bit in the Eagles game. But to me, the interior pass rush of the Chiefs is something that I want the Jaguars to have so desperately. Like, I'm so jealous of the fact that they have Chris Jones, and because teams have to double Chris Jones, then Tershawn Wharton's out here getting multiple sacks, and not in one game, but throughout the season. To have multiple defensive tackles with sacks, like, that's something that the Jaguars have not had in years upon years. By the way, NFL players with 2,000 plus postseason receiving yards: Jerry Rice with 2,245, Travis Kelce now with 2,116, and of course he's, I assume, going to add to that this weekend. How they leave him wide open, I don't know, but I thought he would have 2 touchdowns. He came close to getting 2. He just got caught on the 1.
Which brings me to my favorite stat of the weekend, ladies. Are you ready for this? During the regular season, Travis Kelce averaged 8.48 yards per reception, 6.19 yards per target, which is rather fascinating to me. I mean, yes, he was a monster with yards after the catch against the Texans this past Saturday, but a little bit surprising that they're only targeting him within a little 7-yard window box. What do you think those numbers were on Saturday on average?
Had to
It
average
was
almost
7
like
catches
17,
for 117 yards. So whatever that math is.
16 something.
Yeah, 16.7. Well done, Taylor. Good math. 16.7 yards per route or per reception, excuse me, and 14.6 yards per target. What happened?
Yeah.
What changed? And it happens every postseason. It's more of a guarantee than water being wet or the Chiefs being in the AFC title game. That Travis Kelce the last 3 years, and especially on that 49-yard reception, which was his longest reception from scrimmage this season, folks. The wheels were a little bit slower than they were the last few years, and yet this keeps happening.
Yeah. It's almost like when they need to, he can. But he's not like, I don't have to every game. Obviously, you can win 15 games without me having to be that elite 100-yard player, or whatever you want to say, 16-yard average. But then when they need that, which in this game, I felt like they felt they needed that. And so Travis Kelce had to up it a little bit. Also, Caitlin Clark was there, so he wanted to impress her.
Oh, my goodness. It took us 11 minutes to get to Caitlin Clark. Come on, Taylor Doll. You know better than that.
All right, well, we'll get to Commanders Lions on the other side. We also want to discuss the Eagles and the Rams, as well as the Bills and the Ravens. What a weekend it was. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM on a Big Chief Tire Monday.
The NBA is on 1010XL.
Orlando travels to Jurassic Park for an evening matchup with the Raptors. Tuesday night at 7 on 1010 a.m.
Do the Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle. It's the time of year all our customers love. At Garber Auto Mall, every 2024 must go. Take advantage of thousands in discounts on all new Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Ford. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com. And remember, at Garber Auto Mall, there's always a little room for wiggle. Garber wiggle, Garber wiggle, 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 Garber wiggle.
It's New Year's resolution time, so why not skip the guilt and do something you'll actually stick to? Mia here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. How about fixing that leaky faucet, unclogging that drain, or getting that AC ready for the summer? Duck Duck Rooter is here to help you keep this resolution. Call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Invest in your home and start the year off right. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When mice and rats show up in your home or business, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast before they have time to multiply. Terminix knows how to shut down rodents, and they'll keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a rodent problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
New year, new beginnings, and a new roof. Start 2025 with peace of mind and take advantage of Universal Roof and Contracting's limited time offer. 15% off all roof repairs and replacements. From leaks to full replacements, call 855-ROOF-HELP or visit universalroof.com to schedule your free roof inspection today. This special New Year deal ends January 31st. Universal Roof and Contracting, protecting your home and building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Hey, poker fans! The Best Bet Winter Open Series returns to Best Bet Jacksonville from January 23rd to February 2nd. Satellites into the $1,500 main event kick off January 4th. Take your shot at big payouts with 8 action-packed events and $500,000 in guarantees. Visit bestbetjacks.com for more details. That's bestbetjacks.com. And we'll see you at the Winter Open starting January 23rd.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Ben Ward, senior basketball player at Atlantic Coast High. Ben is a member of the National English and Spanish Honor Societies and has applied and been accepted at several major universities. Congratulations, Ben.
Ready, aim, inspire at the 7th Annual Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation Clay Shoot, Thursday, February 20th at Jack's Clay Target Sports. Hi, I'm Paul Martinez, president of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. We've got you covered. Ammo, carts, plays, delicious food, and amazing prizes. Whether you're a sharpshooter or just in it for fun, this event is for you. Support the important work of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida and Mackenzie's Camp Deep Pond. Sign up at bgcnf.org/events.
Hey gang, Prosser here. If you think you have problems related to the need to sell your home, we have solutions. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. Call them today at 904-414-6200. Look, the problems could fall into a variety of areas. Maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Maybe you need more space with a growing family. Doesn't matter what the problems are. You go to Chad and Sandy. Those problems are fixed. With all the recent talk about interest rates and economic uncertainty, you may be wondering if now is the right time to sell your home. Will you get the price you need? What about repairs or showings? The good news, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. They will deliver. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. No required cost of repairs. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. The success stories are rolling in from all over town. Find out for yourself. Call Chad and Sandy today. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday, as always, with over 7,600 five-star reviews. You know Big Chief Tire provides quality service, whether you need tires, brake services, wheel alignments, or oil changes. Find them online at WeKeepJacksRollin.com. All right, we just discussed Chiefs Texans as the Chiefs move on to play host to the AFC champion, or play host to the Bills in the AFC Championship game. And then when it comes to Commanders-Lions, you have the Commanders, who I think shocked the world, scoring 45 points on the Lions, who at home only scored 31. Obviously, the two completely different storylines. Jaden Daniels is unflappable, and Jared Goff had 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
You can't throw 3 interceptions, including a pick 6, and win the football game.
Yeah, I think that we talked about this last week, and I went back and listened to our episode that we did right before football season kicked off, and we went through all of our picks and we were, our surprises and what we think was going to happen. And in that episode, I said, I think that Washington's going to surprise people because I think Jaden Daniels is going to be very good. Like I went back and listened and I said that. I had a feeling. Like, I was like, this kid, there was nothing in college that showed me he wasn't going to. I also think he went to the perfect place for him, and it's showing. Like, between Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and what they've been able to develop around him. Also, the offensive line, they have a top 5 offensive line. That's a dream for a rookie to go into a situation like that. But I want to give credit to their defense. And I know that the Lions still put up 31 points, but forcing multiple turnovers, and there were a lot of fantastic, amazing plays that Ben Johnson did. And I know we'll have those conversations, but they also figured some of the stuff out that he was doing, and outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, they figured out a lot of ways to at least slow it down a little bit, which many people have not been able to do this whole season. And I know Jared Goff won a game throwing 5 picks, and that's been the storyline of he can overcome some of those things. The problem is when you're missing 20 people on your defense, like, you're not going to, it's not the same team. And when you go back and look at this Lions team, I feel sad for them. Like, even being an NFC North, also, like, you don't really want the other NFC North teams to win. A little bit of me was cheering for the Lions because they've just had so much sadness for all of these years. And it was this run that has been really fun to watch. But when you look, they didn't allow one quarterback to throw more than 1 passing touchdown for the first 12 weeks. And now 5 of the last 7 games, they've allowed 2 and 3 touchdowns by quarterbacks. Like, their defense was depleted. It was not the same defense you were seeing in the first 12 weeks. And that was showing up late in the season.
What I have struggled with in the near 48 hours since this game concluded is trying to reckon with the idea of you need to be who you are on the world's biggest stage in the postseason. The Washington Commanders, statistically speaking, have one of the best 4th down conversion rates of any team in the modern era. And so obviously they were going to go for it on 4th down a time or two because that is who they are.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions, not only are they an outfit that runs the ball, but they're an outfit that is known for a tricky play or two. And they're going to go down swinging according to that ideology. With that said, down 10 points, plenty of time on the clock, and Jamison Williams
throwing a pass
in your own territory?
Yeah.
Like, I understand they've, quote-unquote, gotten away with it, or at the very least, it's been executed properly, and it's been effective. And if it had played out where he completes the pass and it turns into a touchdown drive, we're having a completely different conversation, and we're saying, Ben Johnson, what a genius. But at that juncture, I respect, yes, this is who we are, and we're going to be ourselves until the final whistle. But situational awareness, my guy, I can't come away from that and say, yes, that is understanding we're playing from behind, something the Lions haven't done a whole heck of a lot this year, and recognizing maybe we wait till we cross the 50 to break out the bag of tricks.
But also, you can point to the 12 men on the field. And even Tom Brady in the booth is saying, call a timeout, call a timeout. You've got 12 men on the field. Like, as a whole for the Lions organization, you've got to, whether it's Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, one of them, you've got to have situational awareness also. And so that, I don't know who you want to put that on. Obviously, the players also need to count.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to, in those moments, or like you're talking about me on the biggest stage. And again, this is at home too. Like, you have the advantage of the home crowd. And I thought that crowd was electric, especially too, because it's in the dome, it's amplified. But you, as an organization, you made decisions that certainly cost your team. But I do think that when it comes to the Commanders, this is a team that, because they had those 5 different games where they won barely,
Crazy,
right? And then they won in certainly
Cardiac Commanders.
Right. Yeah. Everyone kind of overlooked them. And I'm not saying the Lions didn't plan and prepare. I'm not saying that. But I do think that aspects of the Commanders team, whether it was the pass rush or whether it was, Jaden Daniels just being able to get guards on the ground, which we've seen him do, but it felt like, and maybe, yes, the Lions defense missing 16 guys on IR, 12 guys
and
on
they lost
IR,
another one during the game.
Right, and then they did. But
I think that was massive.
It felt to me when I walked away from it like the Lions were already thinking they were going to be in the NFC Championship game, and they maybe overlooked the Commanders just a little bit.
And I thought Fred Taylor's comments on the drill this morning, which if you didn't hear them, I thought were pretty interesting. And look, Fred said he's as big a fan of Aaron Glenn as there is.
Sure.
But he said, he's like, I don't know how you go into an interview this week after having 45 points hung on you. And granted, yes, you have
I think you say I'm losing all of my defense.
Yeah,
like
right.
I literally, no, most teams lose 2 or 3 players on your defense, and you're like, well, we're missing 2 players, so our 2 best
starters.
players.
And it happened with
You're
Dan
losing
Quinn.
a massive part of your defense.
It happened with Dan Quinn a year ago. It was arguably his worst performance as a defense coordinator.
But again, the quarterback in Dak Prescott that game certainly didn't help out Dan Quinn in that defense.
Yeah.
Just like Jared Goff in this game hurt his team. I wonder, I don't have a stat for this. How many NFL...
And they still scored 31, though, by the way.
Right.
Imagine having a bad game scoring 31.
Yeah.
It must be nice. But how many teams win an NFL playoff game when the quarterback throws a pick six? Not just an interception, but a pick six. I don't know the stat of that, but I would imagine that it's a very low percentage of teams.
I know a team that won a playoff game when their quarterback threw 4 interceptions, but we
not
won't,
a pick six.
We won't go there because we do have a bit of breaking news. Speaking of Aaron Glenn, according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, he is set for an in-person second-round interview with the New York Jets later this week. Of course, Aaron Glenn not only was drafted by the New York Jets, but he had his first post-playing career job as a member of their scouting department. As Rappaport says, it's an important moment for the Jets and potential tipping point for the coaching searches around the league. Aaron Glenn is also expected to visit the Saints later this week, and he is considered to be a key candidate there too.
Yeah, it does feel like it's coming down to those 2 organizations for Aaron Glenn. By the way, since we've mentioned the Cowboys, every NFC team other than the Cowboys have participated in an NFC championship game since 1996. Every other NFC team outside of the Cowboys have played an NFC championship game other than them.
That's what the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Thank you to 727 for pointing this out. Round of applause, Dylan Denmark. The Commanders have also had a lot of sadness, folks. They hadn't won a playoff game in 20 years. This is their first time in the NFC Championship game since 1991. I was not born yet the last time the Commanders or the Washington football team, whatever you want to call them, played in a conference title game. This is uncharted territory that we're in. And yes, I need a second round of applause because it is literally the year after Dan Snyder sold the team.
Yeah. It was interesting because I was seeing videos of people, I can't remember what show it is right now, but they call in and it's fans who just kind of vent after the game of what happened. So they had all of the losers from this weekend, fans calling in, and one of them was a Detroit fan, and he called in and he was at the game and he was furious because he was like, this team doesn't know what it's like these fans don't know what it's like to be in a game like this. He was like, they're doing the wave on like 3rd and 14s when we're having to like stop. He was like, they're screaming and yelling when we're on offense. And he was like, I mean, this guy was furious, saying like, pretty much like kind of putting it on the fans. Like, you don't know how to handle these situations. Why are you being loud on offense when that's not what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to be loud on defense and you're doing the wave. People were leaving with like 8 minutes left in the game. So when we're talking about
the Chiefs game, I thought
pretty early too.
That surprised me.
But it is like when you're at a game, obviously you're more aware of like what is going on with the fans around, and you're seeing things, and people already are like, stop doing the wave anyways. But when you're in a playoff game to go to like the conference championship game and you're down 10 points, probably not a good time to be doing the wave.
No, definitely not. I laugh even when the wave's done in good moments, just because I feel like the wave is so like 1980s at this point. All right, we have 2 other games to get to when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The home of Jaguars fans.
We're all a big family, not just a team, but the fans too. They come out and support us, and I believe without the fans, we wouldn't be where we are either.
1010XL.
Mia here for MyBookie. It's win or go home. The NFL playoffs are the ticket to the biggest game of the year, and all roads lead to New Orleans. The NCAA playoffs will set the stage, but this is your chance to get in on every high-stakes moment along the way. Your road to New Orleans starts now with MyBookie. MyBookie is the ultimate destination for bettors who want more, whether you're betting the underdogs or riding with the favorites. Every drive, every touchdown, every moment is an opportunity to win big. Kick off your 2025 right with risk-free Thursdays. Place a bet, and if it doesn't hit, MyBookie has your back. Dive into the Bet Boost tab to supercharge your picks and build that bankroll before the big game. And when the games are over, the action does not stop, folks. MyBookie's online casino keeps the excitement going 24/7. Blackjack, roulette, slots, it's all there. Whether you're celebrating a big win or gearing up for the next round. Haven't joined yet? Now's the time. Use promo code 1010XL on your first deposit, and MyBookie will hook you up with an instant bonus because you deserve to start the year off right.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they're proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of both new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional, non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Before the Great American Race on Sunday, the high banks of Daytona heat up with a Saturday night showdown in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Experience the intense competition up close on the sport's biggest stage to kick off the 2025 season. The NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona International Speedway, Saturday, February 15th. Tickets start at just $49, and kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Secure your seats now at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Winter is coming, or maybe it's already here. If your roof took on any damage at all this year and you want to get ahead of these cold winter months, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. If you need any help with your roof, call Projax Roofing at 904-338-1722 or visit them online at projaxroofingfl.com.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
We don't have too many cold nights on the First Coast, but when the temperature drops, you want to hit the heat button and warm up. That's where Florida Home comes in. They're the AC experts in Jacksonville, and the importance of keeping your heating system in good working order is really important. If it stops working when it gets cooler, Florida Home will leap into action and provide you with the best solution. Heater and heat pump repair service and new system installation. They do it all. Just call Florida Home AC at 777-4300, the official heating and AC partner of the Jaguars.
How much does a cloud weigh? The answer coming right up.
It's always a good idea to compare homeowners' insurance rates instead of renewing year in and year out. Log on to southernoak.com and get an instant quote in minutes.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
According to the National Geological Society, a normal cumulus cloud can weigh up to 1 million pounds, or about 500 tons.
Southern Oak Insurance, our family protecting yours.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Anthony. I've been practicing criminal defense law for over 40 years. It's what I love to do, it's what I do well. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. 285-4LAW for Malcolm Anthony.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On January 20th, 1967, Philadelphia 76ers Wilt Chamberlain makes all 15 of his field goal attempts in a win over the Lakers to set the NBA record for consecutive shots made.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLS, consumeraccess.org.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale Lighting, Fans, and Home Decor on 1010XL.
So the Final Four in the NFL, as you know, is set. Commanders at Eagles kicks off Sunday at 3 p.m. on Fox, and then we have the Bills at the Chiefs, 6:30 on Sunday on CBS. I want to knock out the Terminex pest of the day because we're about to talk about the Eagles. Yeah.
You know Max across the hallway.
Oh, no, yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine with this.
He's decked out in his Eagles gear. So you're not coming after the Philly fans?
I'm not coming after the Philly fans whatsoever. Terminex handles the pest control at my house. They also handle the pest control at lots of your favorite concert venues, plus Everbank Stadium, Daly's Place, One-to-One Financial Ballpark, home of the Jumbo Shrimp. They are fantastic, the customer service. I cannot recommend highly enough. Visit them online at Terminix.com, Terminix.com. No, here's the pest of the day. It has to do with something that Taylor's done her tangent on once upon a time.
Ooh.
The financial compensation for NFL running backs versus NFL wide receivers.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis with the Jacksonville Jaguars signed a 3-year, $39 million deal. That's $13 million per year. Saquon Barkley with the Eagles signed a 3-year deal worth only $12.6 million per year. Gabe Davis is making more per year than Saquon Barkley because of the way the NFL's financial compensation is set up for, again, running backs versus wide receivers. And, of course, Barkley, all he did was total 232 yards from scrimmage on 30 touches, including a pair of touchdown rushes of 62 and 78 yards.
Yeah.
NFL needs to fix that.
Did Gabe have that this whole year? I'm just kidding. Continue,
Gabe
Taylor.
did not. Gabe came close. We said he had 359 yards or something the entire season and 2 touchdowns. So, Barkley basically did almost in one game what Davis did all season before he was
We've got to
injured.
start reevaluating the running back contracts because, number one, these players, and this is why the argument a lot has been they're getting beat up. So their career doesn't get to be as long. They miss more games because they're the ones getting hit constantly every single play. So they should make more money probably because they're putting their bodies on the lines a ton. Every single play, these running backs are getting hit.
Derrick Henry, by the way, stiff arms the idea that you can't play a lot of years in this league.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, did you hear they went on the thing that he spends $240,000 on his health? I can't remember the word.
His health and wellness plan.
Wellness plan.
Yeah.
And I retweeted. Oh, I tweeted because I was me on my couch eating popcorn and Pepsi being like, how does Derrick Henry still do this? Oh, I wonder why.
I want to say I first heard about someone spending over 6 figures. I want to say it was Calais Campbell. It might have been Malik Jackson, but back in 2017 when they joined the Jags, I can't remember which one, but they talked about it too.
And it
they
includes
spent
so
over
much.
$100,000.
Yeah. It's like a chef. It's massages. It's your physical therapy. It's your weight training, all of this stuff that they do to get their bodies right. But that's why Derrick Henry can still do what Derrick Henry can do. And I guess if you have the money to spend to be able to do all the private chefs and massages and all of that stuff, go for it. But it is. I think we have to reevaluate this because when you look at these playoffs all around, when you look at Joe Mixon and Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Robinson and Kyron Williams, even though, that was had kind of a bad moment there. But yeah, Saquon, and then obviously Derrick Henry, and then even with James Cook, we've talked about how their run game has helped them so much, but he was a large part of how the Bills were able to pull out this win too. And so we had this mindset for so many years, and I've read the stat for previous years of the Super Bowl winning team, and the running back has made less than $1 million in X amount of the last 10 years. They should make more. They need to make more because now we are definitely to this point where the teams that are winning football games are the teams that can run the ball.
Look no further than the stats of the quarterbacks who play and stand in the backfield with those running backs on any given down, Taylor. Yes, both of these games yesterday were in the snow, but Saquon Barkley, over 200 and some odd total yards, 205 rushing yards. 232 total, 205 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts, 15 of 20 for $128, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And then you go to the Ravens-Bills game where you see James Cook. Yes, it was only 67 yards, but Josh Allen, 16 of 22 for 127. Those are not the numbers of someone who has been an MVP favorite the entire season. That's someone who's being asked to simply manage the game and take care of the ball because everything else
was a huge part of it.
And because everything else around him was working in perfect harmony.
Yeah, I do think the Rams were not ready to play in a game like that. As much as we talk about how, both you had in the other game, the Ravens and the Bills, like they both are at least accustomed to the elements like that.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rams were prepared for that, but also they have an aging quarterback
who gave them a chance, by the way.
He did.
In the final seconds of that game.
He ran one, he scrambled to start the game, and then he got
also
hurt.
jacked his ribs up pretty early. You could tell he wasn't 100%, but the same for Jalen Hurts, by the end of the game. But like, it was a lot of beat up players by the end of each of these games, but that's what happens with no games because guys are sliding all over the place. Like that, the hits hurt more. There's a lot of factors that go into those games. But it is when you see somebody like Matthew Stafford, who everyone's like, he played in Detroit, but yeah, they play in a dome. So like, you're still not playing in that. Like, it was a lot of snow in both these snow games where I was like, you can't see. I don't know how they're doing it, honestly. So props to these guys for even being able to play the way they play.
Yeah. But I will say Saquon is how you know that he takes care of the ball, right? Because he got a ton of touches yesterday, and at no point did he come anywhere near fumbling.
Yeah.
And so there is a way to be able to handle a slippery, ball that's been in the ice and the snow. Jalen Carter, by the way, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 1 pass deflection, and 1 forced fumble. Draft defensive players out of Georgia, the Eagles said we will, and we'll have some really good ones for you too.
It is funny because when they go through their lineup,
school?
there's like multiple did not say Georgia though. They said their high school.
I know, which I don't like. I wish they would say their school. And now a couple of them said multiple colleges.
Schools, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Taylor, that multiple said their high school. Denmark, do you have Imagine? Do you have the Imagine ready? Because I think we need to fire this bad boy up when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Imagine with Closets by Design.
Imagine your home totally organized.
This week, folks, it's finally here at long last. My very own walk-in closet, personally designed by our friends at Closets by Design. I cannot wait. Let's look a little bit further into those Georgia Bulldogs. I made the point last week that isn't it funny that Howie Roseman, the general manager for the Philadelphia Eagles, is a Florida Gator grad. And yet all he has done the last 3 years is draft Georgia Bulldogs, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Here's the interesting part, though, Taylor Dahl, as they were rattling off their high schools, not saying Georgia necessarily, during the Sunday night football, or I guess Sunday afternoon football introductions. Where's Jalen Carter from?
I do not know.
Georgia. How about
well, he went to Georgia, but where he's from? He's from Georgia?
He's from Apopka, Florida, right outside of Orlando. Okay. How about Nolan Smith? Nolan Smith, well, he's from Savannah, but that's not too far from Florida, but certainly still in the state of Georgia. I just couldn't help but think when I heard Jalen Carter say Apopka, or even better yet, let's step outside of the Georgia Bulldogs on that Eagles roster. Let's go to someone who was the eye of so many in the transfer portal, but opted to stay in the MAC, Quinyon Mitchell, who we're hoping is feeling better on this Monday afternoon. Quinyon Mitchell is from Williston, Florida. He did not say
Gainesville.
He did not say Toledo. He said he's from Williston, Florida. Imagine that. Imagine if maybe Howie Roseman isn't just targeting Georgia Bulldogs in the NFL draft. Imagine instead that roster is littered with Florida natives who did not play for the Florida Gators. CD Deuce, my apologies.
You think he's following their recruiting as far as high school, and then the fact they're not going to Florida is secondary?
I just think it's a coincidence, but I also couldn't help but think that these are elite players who are among the best at their position, and they're from the state of Florida, and for whatever the reason over the last 10 years, they have left the state of Florida when it comes to playing college ball.
Yeah, we've talked about that number before of Florida in the past 10 years having the most players in the NFL out of any state. The state of Florida, and then them not going to the Florida schools, though. And so that has been a number.
I feel like if you watched this weekend, which obviously y'all did, you saw a lot of Florida Gators make plays. So you certainly, the lot between last weekend and this weekend, there are Gators that people, I feel like, don't even remember that DeMarcus Robinson played at Florida, because Florida wasn't necessarily great during his career there, right? Or like an Alex Anzalone. I feel like the further we get removed from their time at Florida, too, and again, when Florida wasn't good, people forget about it. But
C.J. Gardner.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson made some plays. Last weekend, Jonathan Grenard certainly made plays, and the list goes on. I'm not going to go through all of them. All right, let's get it to the final game. That was the one last night between the two AFC heavyweights in the Ravens at the Bills. Yes, there was some weather, but I didn't really think that the weather was as big of a deal in that game as it was the Rams-Eagles game. Credit to Sean McDermott, who we finally talked about to end last week.
We did it.
The Bills blitzed Lamar Jackson on 48.4% of his 31 dropbacks. That's the 5th highest rate during McDermott's 8 seasons in Buffalo. Lamar Jackson is normally really good against the blitz. However, against a 4-man rush, he completed 10 of 11 passes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. But when the Bills blitzed, he was just 8 of 14 for 132 yards and an interception. So McDermott and the defense saw, or at least they wanted to see if they could get pressure to Lamar. And whereas Jaden Daniels was excellent against the blitz and completed a lot of big passes against it, Lamar Jackson crumbled.
I don't want to point the finger at Lamar Jackson.
Do you want to point the finger at Mark Andrews?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
No.
My mom got mad at me, by the way, when I said that.
You can't point the finger at Mark Andrews and not point the finger at Lamar.
Right. But at the same time, it would be one thing if it was just the fumble, if it was just one drop in the end zone on a 2-point play in the snow. Like, it would be one thing if it was one, but there were 3 miscues, the 2 drops and the fumble by Mark Andrews. And I'm not saying that 3 outrivals the 2 turnovers by the quarterback, because the quarterback certainly had a hand in all 3 of those miscues by the tight end. But
the pick that Lamar threw was bad and his fumble was bad. To me, the
fumble was worse.
Yes. And to me, the Mark Andrews fumble was a good play by the defense. Like, they punched that out as a peanut punch, perfect play that you could have executed in that moment. The drop, can't do that. Cannot. And everybody was like, oh, well, it wasn't the perfect throw. It hit his hands. And I get it. The weather is a factor in those moments because you are like, I wouldn't be able to feel my hands. So I don't know how they're doing it. But I think it's both of them. They were between 2 fumbles, an interception, and a drop pass. Those 4 plays ultimately lost you the game.
I just don't know, Taylor, how do people say it's Mark Andrews' fault and not put Lamar in the same category? Like, 2 of your most important players are the reason that you lost the game. It's not just because he dropped that 2-point conversion. If Lamar hadn't thrown an interception earlier, the situation would have been different. So to me, the blame goes on both of them.
And people are saying, well, Lamar drove them down the field and got them into the position and obviously scored, and then you just needed a 2-point to tie. And so they are putting that, but also you can't. The turnovers, we've been talking about this, and that's what ultimately happened with the Lions, too. If you can't win that turnover battle, you're most likely not going to win the game. And another stat I saw, which is kind of crazy, the Ravens had, and this is what they did last year, too. They did at least not completely abandon the run like I felt like they did last year in the postseason, but they had 0 designed runs for Lamar Jackson in this game. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, that is something that when you have a quarterback, that's what he can do, especially in games where the weather is like this. You would think, and I'm very big on Todd Monken, but that is something that I feel like I would want to have a conversation with him and be like, why did we have nothing designed for Lamar himself?
And meanwhile, you have Jaden Daniels, where Tom Brady is praising Cliff Kingsbury and the RPO concepts that they run, and I understand that game was indoors, it was not in the snow, but the idea of, hey, you've got multiple options. And what have we been saying about the quarterbacks in Tampa, the quarterbacks in Detroit? Yes, they have 4 or 5 receivers that are running routes, but especially when you have a mobile quarterback, the idea of Jaden Daniels takes the snap. He can hand it off. He can keep it. He's got 3 receivers running routes. He can also throw the ball, especially if he sees the blitz coming. The fact that he has multiple options. Did Lamar Jackson have multiple options last night every single time he faced a blitz?
And I don't think so. And that's what you can compare those to so much, because the Ravens also have a really good offensive line too. So you're talking about 2 offensive lines who are better lines in the league with Washington and with Baltimore. And the way you kind of tried to make everything work throughout. And like I said, I'm glad they didn't completely abandon the run. That positive, because last year it was like, what are they doing? They tried to make Lamar just throw and throw and throw, and it didn't work. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But when you have somebody who has the ability, the rare ability that Lamar Jackson has, you do have to use that a little bit. And when you go back to the Washington game, when you have players who he throws a pretty much negative pass and it goes for almost 60 yards. When you have players who can get those yards after catch the way that the Washington receivers were able to do, and I think that Baltimore could if you use them in the right way, because you do have the blocking schemes that could help, and then not taking advantage of that is just really weird to me.
Cliff Kingsbury, everyone wants to hire him now. Todd Monken, no. Ben Johnson, no. Aaron Glenn, no. Joe Brady, yes. Like, it's not one game that determines whether or not they're going to be a successful head coach, but that was obviously a lot of the rhetoric. So we will get to the latest on the Jaguars head coaching search when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. They're a family-owned company and they've been in business for over 60 years. They have 5 locations around town, and they do a ton for our community. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Morning, Paula.
Morning, Ron.
Another day in Adminville, am I right?
What are you working on? Oh!
You okay?
Your tabs. You have so many open.
Yeah, gotta order lunch for the big client meeting. With great responsibility comes tabs.
I can help. Close all those tabs and open just one, easycater.com. Online ordering from local restaurants, plus tools to save time, stay on budget, track expenses.
One tab to rule them all.
EasyCater, the smarter way to order food for work. Order now at easycater.com.
Mia here for Dream Finders Homes. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dream Finders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. You heard me right, a 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Instead of wasting money on resolutions you won't keep, why not invest in something that lasts? Like fixing that dripping faucet, clearing that clogged drain, or finally tuning up your AC. Call Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. We'll help you keep your home in shape this year. It's the one resolution you won't regret breaking. Call 904-862-6769 to schedule service today. Because when you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,600 per ounce. Pay bills. Buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Mack and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars, to trucks, to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Brian Wall here. Would you take your paycheck, go to the bank, cash it, and then simply throw it up in the air? I didn't think so. But in a way, over the years, that is exactly what you're doing if you have old or builder-grade windows in your home. Even if you have a brand new home, those windows are not the best windows you can have to save on your energy bills. Window World has sold millions of replacement windows to homeowners like you, and Window World's customer satisfaction is the highest in the business. Please check Window World out yourself and save on your new windows and on your energy bills. Compare with other companies and you'll see Window World is simply the best for less. It's up to you. You can call Window World and get a free estimate, get the best guarantee in the window replacement business, save money on your new windows, and save more on your energy bills. Call Window World today at 904-443-7001 or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Make a resolution this new year to send all of your friends or family a Kuhn Flowers floral arrangement. Or how about just sending one person you love a floral arrangement? Kuhn Flowers can handle it all.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by Blue Chew. The JU Dolphins won their 5th straight game after defeating the Central Arkansas Bears 72-62 on Saturday, and now sit at 3rd place in the conference. With the Bears making a run late in the game, the Dolphins played strong defense while holding Central Arkansas to shooting 36.1% from the field. Dolphins head coach Jordan Mincy and what they can learn from this win.
Congrats to our guys on the win. Obviously, it got a little sloppy there at the end, but our guys did a great job, especially our bench. They really showed up, did a great job of executing, and I think we really made a push after the second half. And so 5 in a row, we got to keep pushing, got to keep being hungry. Obviously, we saw with how we ended the game, we got room to grow, and so that's always an encouraging thing to know.
The Dolphins now hit the road hoping to continue their winning streak when they face West Georgia on Thursday at 7 o'clock. It's 45 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time in 10 brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, Dylan Denmark filling in for RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Big Chief Tire Monday. Dylan, we appreciate you helping us out the last few days and tomorrow as well.
You're welcome.
All right, the latest when it comes to the Jaguars head coaching search. Here's, from my vantage point, what it seems like. That some people, whether it's on our station or people who work for other news outlets, they have a source, I'll say, or they directly speak to one of the head coaching candidates. So they'll tell you that they think that person might be the next Jaguars head coach. For instance, a Robert Saleh, who once worked here, so people certainly have connections to him. You've got other people with connections to Mark Brunell. Mark Brunell obviously once played here.
Emphasis on this part, Lauren.
Yep.
Yes,
And
there
so-
are those who have connections, whether directly to Mark or to people, who claim
know
to be
Yeah.
in Mark's sphere. So please,
I think that camp
needs to be said.
Yeah, that camp will tell you that certainly Ben Johnson is a leading candidate here and certainly may get his own GM. You know, we shall see. There's also people, I think, that are close to a guy like Aaron Glenn. He also played here for a year, whether that's Fred Taylor or other people. And so they might have been swayed that way a little bit, or that's their recommendation for the next head coach, or certainly Liam Cohen, who coaches in this state. So people are going to also have connections to him. So what I'm trying to say is beware of everything you read and everything you hear. No one to this point knows who the next Jaguars head coach is.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's even this last couple weeks when we've been having the conversation, and I've been like, everybody has their own people that they talk to. They have their own, obviously, when you also can take certain things certain ways, and it's honestly been kind of funny to watch because obviously living on both sides of two teams having a coaching search right now, and like someone will say something, like a Schefter or a Rappaport will say something, and like each side will be like, oh, this means that it's the Jags. This means like it's the Bears. This means that it's this. And it's been so funny to watch. Like I've honestly laughed to myself because it'll be the same exact quote, but each side is taking it completely different.
By the way, the Bears and the Jets have interviewed now a combined 40 people.
Yeah.
40 people. So when people think the Jaguars cast a wide net with 10 for the first round of interviews, like, just relax. It's not nearly as many.
Yeah. The Bears are just throwing out everybody there right now. But it does seem like, from what I've heard on that side, is it's 4 people that they've kind of started to narrow things down to. And it's obviously Ben Johnson, Todd Monken, McCarthy, and I'm trying to think of the fourth. I can't remember the fourth right now, but there's 4 that people are kind of looking at. They still have
Eddie George, maybe Eddie George, who just interviewed over the weekend.
Yeah, that one was to check a box, unfortunately. But I do think that that's what this time of year is. It's a lot of like, he said, she said, this side thinks this side thinks this. We'll start getting a better idea within this next week now that some of these coaches are out of the postseason. Obviously, we still have to wait for some more. Like you get Monken and you get Ben Johnson, but now, how much do people want to talk to a Cliff Kingsbury right now? And how many people want to talk to some of these other guys that may still remain, or what does this look like the next week? But I do think this next week will start to dwindle down a lot of the options.
Well, and Mia, also people freaked out the moment that you had the Raiders interviewing a certain GM as well.
Correct. And that's where I was going to take the conversation, Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I believe the smoke. I believe the fires and the murmurs from the NFL Network folks, even if the ESPN folks have tried to downplay it, that are coming from the desert right now.
Yeah.
I can't help but come away from the idea of the Las Vegas Raiders, who I had on good intel, were not planning on firing Tom Telesco. As of the week before the end of the regular season, the front office was told they were safe. And suddenly, after a reported hour-long interview between minority owner Tom Brady and Ben Johnson's representation, Tom Telesco is fired. You additionally can look at the entire list of requests that the Raiders have made up to this point, and it reflects not only what Ian Rappaport has said, but what Vinny, I'm going to butcher his last name, Ben Sagadornini from the Las Vegas Journal, who's been on the Raiders beat forever, what he has reported, which is it's Ben Johnson or it's the field of retreads, because they know Aaron Glenn's not going there. And Pete Carroll as the potential backup plan is very realistic, because I believe Vinny's report that is the case out there in the desert. And I believe Ian Rappaport when he says that Tom Brady is going to do everything he can to get Ben Johnson in the building. I believe in my heart of hearts that is why they said goodbye to Tom Telesco. Mm-hmm. They wanted to clear the deck. They wanted to, here she goes, have a blank slate.
Yeah.
Clean
Complete
house.
overhaul.
Complete overhaul. To give that opportunity to Ben Johnson. Even I heard that social suicide. I heard that social suicide, but what do I know? And so that is where I cannot, knowing what I was told, I cannot come away from that and say anything else. They're not tearing it completely down without the interest from Ben Johnson. And I respect the reporting of our colleagues who say he doesn't want to go live in Las Vegas. There's a difference between the Strip and Henderson, Nevada. And I think if you don't know that, I would invite you to look up where Bryce Harper, where Chris Bryant, and so many others are growing up in the suburbs of Las Vegas. It is not the Strip.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this before the show, Mia, and that's what the Raiders are showing Ben Johnson, something that the Jags and Bears are not, and it's that we've heard this is what you want, so we're getting rid of everything that we don't think you'd want, and we're giving you here, have everything. Make it your choice.
We don't know if the Jags are doing that. We know for sure that Brian Poles is going to be the
Trent
GM.
Baalke.
But
Like,
yes,
that's
what
what I'm
we
saying.
don't know is if the conversation between Schott and Ben Johnson included a conversation without Trent Baalke. That's what we don't know.
Yeah, and maybe they'll change, but what they didn't do is make that decision on their own before. Right. They're saying, well, if you want to, maybe we'll change it. That sounds like a baby to me. But they are saying, here, have it all. Like, do what you want to do.
Add a zero, add a zero.
Here's the money. Here's everything. Like, and yes, there's other things that obviously we've talked about of they don't have a quarterback. And so, but maybe they're like, hey, Sam Darnold's about to be a free agent. We'll throw some money at him. We'll throw some money at whoever you want. Is there somebody in this draft you like? Is there whatever this case may be, you have Brock Bowers, you have Max Crosby. We'll give you a ton of money where you're working with a GM that is your friend and that you like and you get along with.
That you picked.
Yes. And so there are a lot of positives in that. And I also think that obviously the Tom Brady factor into it also, because it's somebody that I think that is enticing to people. So I believe it too. I believe that that Ben Johnson's looking at that job and like, this is my job. This job was made for me, and it's not something where I have to come in and feel like I have to fire people and change things.
We also forget, Lauren, close your ears. We also forget that Gardner Minshew, once upon a time, won 9 games with Shane Steichen and a haphazard. I understand that he had Jonathan Taylor, but he was up and down and hurt and not hurt. He won 9 games with Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a void year in 2026, but he is under contract for 2025 with Las Vegas.
Why am I closing my ears?
Oh, just because I'm giving Gardner praise and saying Gardner could potentially win with Ben Johnson.
Oh, I'm not saying Gardner Minshew is I've never said the world's worst quarterback. When you're talking about picking a franchise based off of around a franchise quarterback, I don't think anyone's picking Gardner Minshew. But I've also annoyed Raiders fans in the past by saying Derek Carr was terrible.
Yeah.
And when I tweeted out Saturday night, imagine Ben Johnson with Brian Thomas Jr., so many Raiders fans got upset. And they're like, no, he's got Brock Bowers. Ben Johnson will have Brock Bowers. No, he could, but he doesn't have a quarterback.
So Taylor and I were talking about this. Andy Reid makes the most money right now of any NFL coach. I believe it's $13 million. And then
they don't have to report the NFL ones, so we always have
it
to
is kind of like a guess.
We always have
area.
to talk to people who know.
Right.
Yeah.
What we do know is from what's out there are 9 coaches that make north of $9 million in the National Football League. Mike McDonald, surprisingly enough, a first-year head coach, just made $9 million reportedly last year. I anticipate, it doesn't matter that he's never been a head coach before, I anticipate the Las Vegas Raiders sitting Ben Johnson down and saying, add a zero, add a zero, add a zero. And better yet, and I think this is going to be very fascinating to watch, not just in Las Vegas, but here as well. Shad Khan historically has only signed head coaches to 4-year contracts. 4-year contracts. The going rate is probably around 5. I'm not even going to get into the Urban Meyer contract because we're going to put that off on its own little island.
Yeah.
Last year, Dave Canales is a first-year head coach. The dumpster fire that was Carolina signed a 6-year contract. And I believe Mike McDonald is either a 5 or a 6-year contract in Seattle. What is Ben Johnson going to get? Because John Gruden, once upon a time, with that same franchise, signed a 10-year contract. And granted, he had a Super Bowl to his name, obviously longevity with the franchise prior to coming back. And I believe that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to give that Godfather offer that not only on the bottom line is astounding and will...
But year-wise.
But I think the year-wise as well. And that's where, Laura, and I bring it back to the quarterback. You can have Gardner Minshew for a year. Mm-hmm. You can get Sam Darnold for a 2 or 3 year Baker Mayfield type deal. And you have time to wait it out, to build the infrastructure, to then, in that 2027 NFL draft or 2020, whichever one Lagway and company are in, Arch Manning, et cetera, you have time to build that infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And then when the moment is right, strike for your quarterback.
But see, for me, if I was making the decision, the NFL is a harsh business. And just because you get a 6-year contract or a 5-year contract does not mean you're going to be the coach of that team in 5 or 6 years. If
you're going to be getting paid
for him.
Yeah, you're getting paid. But you would get paid in Chicago if you decided to take that job. You'd get paid certainly.
But if you're not if those teams aren't offering you 6 years, then you're not getting paid for those 6 years. And I do think because Ben Johnson, which I've heard this, which like we said, we can't go and like Google how much all of these coaches are making, but I have heard he's making more than Dan Campbell in Detroit. So if you're leaving a job where as an offensive coordinator, you're making more than the head coach, then you are going to want to go somewhere that, number one, it's worth it financially, but also there's some sort of stableness to where you do know you have a job for 5-6 years, and if you don't, then you're still getting paid.
And reportedly, again, I don't know how real this is, but reportedly Dan Campbell did sign a contract extension earlier this year, so now he is making more than Ben Johnson. But there was a time there where it overlapped, and yes, Ben Johnson was making more than Dan Campbell.
You pick the place, in my mind, you think you're going to win. And money is always a factor for people, but Ben Johnson could have taken a job last year and he could be making a head coaching salary and he could have gotten a longer deal potentially, right, than other guys.
He could have taken a job with the Washington Commanders, the team that just beat him.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so to me, you pick the franchise you think you can win. And a huge part of that, if not the biggest part of that, is the franchise quarterback. Some would argue and say, no, it's the GM and whether or not you have more control over picking the GM. But I think a lot of it has to do with the franchise quarterback. All right, so Dan Campbell met with media this morning?
Yes, he did. And one thing is for certain, he knows he's losing both of his coordinators.
But I think we've got guys on staff that I think are more than qualified and would be outstanding in those roles. But that does not mean that I'm not looking outside either. So I want what I believe is going to be as close to what we have been as possible. And and we don't lose what we're about and our identity. And Wojo, like what you just asked, we're going to stay true to who we are. And if you're somebody that doesn't feel comfortable with that, then no, I don't. This isn't the job for you. So I'm not going to be in a hurry. I'm not in a mad dash. No matter what happens, I want to do what's right by our team and what I believe is going to, those guys will be able to stand in front of that room and command respect and get everybody going in the same direction. And we'll ultimately deliver the same message that I'm delivering.
That sounds like a guy who has been told by both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson
they're going elsewhere.
Or he could just read Twitter, even if they don't communicate with him with all the interviews that they have. Look, I feel for Dan Campbell. It's a tough spot to be in, being the team that everyone expected to not just go to the Super Bowl, but a lot of people to win the Super Bowl. And your team pretty much fell flat on its face, especially offensively. And at the end of the day, I say offensively, yes, they allowed 45. Well, they had a pick six, so 38 points allowed.
Yeah.
But
and scored 31.
Yeah, but I still think that offensively, that's where the biggest issues lied. And Dan Campbell sounds so resigned in that. He sounded resigned post-game to the mecca that has been Detroit, and everything that they've built is going to change. And you're not going to be able to run it back this upcoming season with Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator and Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. And it gets even harder, right? Now you do have a team like the Commanders who have joined the ranks of the Eagles as far as some of the top teams to beat. And it's hard. I remember when Florida had Will Muschamp at the helm, I thought at the time he had two really, really good coordinators, and I was so afraid that they were going to leave and move on. One of those being Dan Quinn, by the way.
Yeah.
And because
that worked out well.
Yeah, that's what happens. Is you have a talented offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, and they do get the next best thing, which is a head coaching job, or then they can certainly move up to the NFL as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, Lauren, because I think that's a great point to kind of put a bow on this Jaguars coaching search conversation on. Can the coach build a staff? On Friday, we did our around the horn. If you could pick one of the coaches not named Andy Reid still alive in the postseason heading into the divisional round, who would you pick? And you picked John Harbaugh. I was speaking with someone in the league on Friday, and they said that John Harbaugh's greatest talent, not special teams coordinator. It's not that he has guided a team to a Super Bowl. It's that he can build a staff. And so in the last 2 weeks, one thing I've really tried to do is pry around the league and see what is the sentiment about not only who would Ben Johnson, who would Liam Cohen, who would Kellen Moore bring with them if they were to be given the job in Jacksonville, but I've wanted to gain an idea of what is the most redeeming quality. And across the board, I have been told, like the first thing out of everyone's mouth is, well, can he build a staff? Because that clearly, between Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, that is the mark of coaching success, not only in the NFL, but to your point, at the collegiate level as well. And I have been told that those three young names that I referenced, the belief is that they could build a staff. Ben Johnson is going to need a very particular, specific staff that is molded in the exact way that he wants it set up. Kellen and Liam, there could be a little bit more wiggle room. And in turn, of which of the three that this person that I spoke to believes that could build the most elite staff, the belief was that Liam Cohen would be that individual that could deal with a variety of personalities, could deal with Trent Baalke if he's still around. And again, I know there's been mixed reports, and I don't know the answer of whether or not he will work with Trent Baalke. But what this person said to me, who's known Liam for almost a decade now, was that in terms of, hey, I can identify talent and bring them in. We saw it with the Bucs. No one else was interviewing Brian McClendon. Shout out to the Georgia fans. No one else was interviewing Brian McClendon to bring him in to be the wide receivers coach at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Liam Cohen did that. He'd never worked with him before, but he coached in the SEC and he identified the talent. He brings in Kevin Carberry, who was left for scraps in New Orleans as an assistant offensive line coach after being the offensive line coach with Liam with Los Angeles. He brings him in, and all of a sudden, Luke Getke looks like a Pro Bowler. And so that is, I think, going to be a big conversation as we begin round 2 of these interviews. What the staff will look like. Building a staff is an underrated quality for perhaps the media types and for fans to be talking about with a head coaching candidate, but know that in league circles, it is item number 1.
Albert Breer did report, by the way, that the Liam Cohen interview did go well. And I've figured out Pete Prisco is the one who says Liam Cohen. And so I've now heard several other people also be saying Liam Cohen. It is Liam Cohen. All right, we want to get it to college football on the other side. Taylor Dahl has a very big game tonight as the Fighting Irish take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It is a big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. And like I said earlier, over 7,600 5-star reviews. There's a reason for that. They will treat your car and you like family. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
I love football. I love everything about it. I love Friday nights when you're looking for a win and Saturday morning when you found one.
1010XL.
Hey guys, it's your boy E.T. And you need a little extra boost in the bedroom? Blue Chew is what you need. By now you probably know that Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. So what you waiting for? Blue Chew is all online. No doctor's visits, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Plus, it ships right to your front door in a discreet package. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strengths for your prescription. Guys, if you don't like swallowing pills, no problem. Blue Chew is chewable. And ready for a great offer? How about free? Go to BlueChew.com, consult with a licensed medical provider, and get your first month free. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. Just chew it and do it. Visit BlueChew.com.
Mia here for MyBookie. It's win or go home. The NFL playoffs are the ticket to the biggest game of the year, and all roads lead to New Orleans. But before we get to NOLA, we have the ATL tonight, the championship game of the college football playoff. The line has shifted a little bit, folks. Ohio State, an 8.5-point favorite. You could get the Fighting Irish in honor of Taylor Dahl at plus 300 on the money line at MyBookie right now. What I find most fascinating, I've taken the over on the total of this one, which has fluctuated a bit as well. It's now set at 45.5 after the offensive showing we saw from the Buckeyes in the Rose Bowl as well as in their semifinal game. For me, it's a no-brainer. Take the over. And you want to know what else is a no-brainer? Playing with MyBookie. Use promo code 1010XL for a 50% deposit on your first deposit. Again, that's promo code 1010XL on your first deposit. MyBookie will hook you up with an instant bonus because you deserve to start the new year off strong. Don't forget that promo code 1010XL.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast orthopedic specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast orthopedic specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast orthopedic specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast orthopedic specialists.
Pickett here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
This is Hayes Carlion for Physician Guided Weight Loss. I need help losing weight. I'm older and I don't have the discipline needed. Luckily, I discovered Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their amazing technology, fast setup, friendly staff, and proven results sold me. They can help you too, and it's affordable with firm pricing, so no rising costs as you go. If you're like me and looking to kick off the new year with a leaner body, call Physician Guided Weight Loss at 257-4344. That's 257-4344.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 1335410.
Pickett here with a message from Zero Res. Did you have people over for the holidays? Kids everywhere, dirt everywhere, all over the carpets, the rugs, the sofas, and chairs? Did the kitchen towel take a beating?
Sounds like it's time to call my guys over at Zero Res. The Zero Res techs will get the house looking great again. Folks, if you need help cleaning up after the holiday, give Zero Res a call. Right now, 25% off carpet cleaning, 25% off upholstery cleaning. Zero Res. Spell it forwards. Zero Res. Spell it backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
Start your week by talking teal with Tony. Hall of Fame Monday with Tony Baselli. Monday mornings at 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida. Hall of Fame Quality Roofing Solutions on 1010XL.
Mia here for Dream Finders Homes. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dream Finders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. You heard me right, a 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershome.com for more details.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels.
Illuminated by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
on 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, Dylan Denmark filling in for RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Big Chief Tire Monday, and Monday night means the national championship will kick off. They say around 7:30. I'd prepare for more like 7:45.
Thank you, Lauren. We had an argument in my house last night. I was like, Kevin.
We couldn't do like 6.
You're
making me wait.
Well, no.
so
Kevin was like, it's starting at 7:30. And
That's
so
the time they say it starts.
Right. And so he's like, you got to film. So, of course, we record, if you didn't know, the women's basketball podcast on the OG Triangle Media. I record that on Monday nights. And so he's like, you got to record at 6 because the game starts at 7:30. And I was like, no, it's not going to. That's when the pregame festivities start. He said, no, they say they're going to start. No, they're not.
That's ESPN for you, or all the major networks. Yeah, they say that's basically when the pregame coverage begins. So yeah, I would expect kickoff a little closer to 7:45, but who knows? They could drag it out to 8 o'clock for all we know. Taylor's going to be so incredibly nervous right around the beginning of that game and throughout. But I would say, Taylor, that this game to me, with as much talent as Ohio State has as far as the flashy talent, Notre Dame is more of the tough, gritty team that plays inspired football, plays for each other. I would say that Notre Dame, though, can't let Ohio State get to like a 2-touchdown lead at any point in the game or a double-digit lead at any point in the game, because I don't know if they have enough firepower to overcome. However, I think if it comes down to a close game, Notre Dame is built to win a game like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of been the weapon the last 11 straight wins has been, and Malik Zaire said it the best way, I think, is when he said they slow roast. And that slow roast is so accurate to me because they're not that team that's going to come out. It does take Riley Leonard a little bit to get going. So if the defense can do what the defense has done for the majority of the season and hold teams to field goals, but make them go 80, 90 yards during that time and start to wear out their offense a little bit, but then hold them to a field goal or maybe a touchdown and then 10 points at that. And then Riley Leonard really gets going and Jeremiah Love gets going, which I have seen tweets that he's 100% and ready to go, which is definitely a massive positive. But it does, when it's going to come down a lot to me to the Notre Dame offensive line and how well they can protect Riley Leonard, because this is a line who, to start the year, did not have a lot of experience in games in general. And then throughout the year, they've gotten more and more beat up, like to the point where the left tackle that was supposed to start this season tore his pec, was supposed to miss the whole season. And because they have no offensive lineman, had to play last week left guard and now has to start this week. So it's guys who are not supposed to be on the football field having to play offensive line right now for them. So, and you saw that kind of against Penn State. You saw them definitely get worked in certain moments. They started settling in a little bit later in the game. But I agree with you. I think it's one of those things, if they can keep it close and get to the point where it is just a one-score game late, then they can do what they've done to all the opponents, and that's when they start wearing them down because the defense can do what they do from start to finish.
Yes, and I think that's where my MyBookie read that I just made about the under and the total is just so fascinating to me because the early returns, and I saw our friend Tim B is on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosure, so shout out to Tim, who's a noted Buckeye fan. He wishes you well tonight, Taylor. But I think that there will be many who will play that over because they can't come off of the idea of the Ohio State offense that they have seen each of the last 2 times out is vastly different than the Ohio State offense we saw against Michigan. And that's where I think that what's going to be fascinating. And to those in the MyBookie digital studio right now debating, I saw Jim among those debating that in the NFL, if the playoffs this weekend taught us anything, it's that once again, we are returning to run the ball and play great defense as the bread and butter of successful teams. Give Ohio State credit there. They already had an elite running back, in TreVeyon Henderson, and they said, you know what, we're going to go out and get another one. And so that is where, while Jeremiah Smith is the headliner and the reason so many people expect this to be a high-scoring affair, even against a Notre Dame defense that's stout and a Notre Dame defense that even when guys have gone down, they have found the next guy in line and brought him in without issue. There will be those who will think that Jeremiah Smith is the reason the overhits. I think it could be that run game. And that's, again, going up against the Notre Dame defensive front that even without its best pass rusher is still pretty stout. But at some point or another, when you have 2 of the top, what would you say, Lauren, top 15, top 20 running backs in college football on the same roster, the dam is going to break at some point.
But that's what's interesting is because when you look at what Ohio State's done in the postseason, it's been the passing game that has had that success. And that's what your buddy, Evan Klosky, who's obviously a diehard Ohio State fan, that's where he went to school, he said that's the issue was Chip Kelly against Michigan was trying to force the run and not going to those receivers. And if they have 2 of the top 15 running backs in the country, they sure as heck have 2 of the top 15 receivers in Emeka Egbuka and obviously Jeremiah Smith. And look, Carnell Tate has come on as of late as well. And I'm not saying that Notre Dame's secondary can't contain whether they decide to double, Smith at times, which is what we've seen some other teams do. I think the secondary has been really good all season, but that's been the game plan that they've seen success is we do have these just phenomenal athletes on the outside. We've got to get them the football. And can Will Howard have a clean game like he has had? That to me is a question because earlier in the season, I feel like he was a little bit more up and down.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the Notre Dame fans are looking at it and they're saying the game plan for a lot of teams have been just kind of doubling Jeremiah Smith and hoping that the rest, they can just limit it. But I think most Notre Dame fans are saying between Leonard Moore, Christian Gray, and Jordan Clark, they have 3 corners that can match up with Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Emeka Egbuka. And so I even saw a stat actually that it was and this is PFF, so PFF is not everything, but the PFF scores for each of these guys. So Jeremiah Smith, his rating this year was an 89.2. Leonard Moore, Notre Dame's corner number 1, 88.9. Carnell Tate had a 70.2. Christian Gray, 71.2. And then Emeka Egbuka is an 80, and Jordan Clark's an 80.2. So all 3 of their corners match up perfectly to what the 3 wide receivers can do at Ohio State. And they haven't faced a team that has 3 corners that you would consider 3 of the top corners in the league.
Right. And it's a matchup game.
Yeah.
And that's where I know that you had concerns about the defensive front with a certain absence last week. And
it showed early.
Right.
I mean, Singleton was running all over Notre Dame early. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State tried to run the ball a little bit more because they were seeing that was a weakness.
Right.
Nobody's been able to pass on Notre Dame very much this season. And they'll get those few chunk plays and then it kind of dies once you get into the red zone because they're a really good red zone defense. You have to be able to run the ball or you don't have a chance against Notre Dame's defense.
To that point, Lauren, and to Evan's point from Friday or Thursday, whatever day it was that he joined us, I'm stunned that we haven't had the Quinshon Judkins, TreVeyon Henderson. Oh my God, they're doing what Singleton and I'm blanking on what's Katron Allen and what Katron Allen do. We haven't had one of those games yet.
Yeah.
At least in the postseason where those 2 just go crazy.
Yeah.
And we say, my goodness, there will be those critics who say Ohio State bought their team, including our friend Malik Zaire. But at the same time, to your point of the Terminex pest of the day and the value of a running back, the fact that they said it doesn't matter that we have 1 elite running back, we need 2.
Yeah.
What does that say about where the sport's headed?
Yeah, and that's what I think that it's showing in both college and in the NFL right now. And that's what, when we talk about Jeremiah Smith, I don't want to push aside Jadarian Price either, because when Jeremiah Smith's been battling injuries and the flu. Jeremiah Love's been battling the flu and injuries for this entire postseason. And so Jadarian has had to step up into a bigger role. And I didn't even know this until the Georgia game when they said Jeremiah Smith and Jadarian Price lead the nation in yards after contact, both of them. And then you add Riley Leonard, who also can run and bulldoze guys and run over. So you kind of have a three-headed monster when it comes to that. Their wide receivers are not nearly what the Ohio State wide receivers are. But I think because the way they can run the ball and play defense, that's what keeps them in a lot of these games. So I do think it's going to come down to each side, these offensive lines being able to run the ball, and then which defenses can make the bigger plays.
Well, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Obviously, Notre Dame is a team that didn't have to play in a conference championship.
And neither did Ohio State.
And neither did Ohio State. But Ohio State certainly, to get to this point, has faced teams like Tennessee and Oregon and Texas. And so as far as weaponry, they've certainly faced a lot of those teams. And Notre Dame has also faced some weapons too. I feel like people didn't think that Penn State was, deserving necessarily to be there. And so they don't count that.
Well, people say that about
much.
Texas too, though.
But yeah, I can understand that, yeah, even though they certainly played some tough games like a Georgia team twice, but they certainly didn't win either one of those. It's going to be fun. Kicks off somewhere around 7:30 tonight. We've got one segment to go on Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
From the preseason to the playoffs and every day in between.
Each man individually preparing himself to be the best he could possibly be. Better than he's ever been. Because that's what it's going to take.
At 1010XL, the season never ends.
Mia here. You want to know what I'm so over? Resolutions. I mean, you're just kind of setting yourself up for a letdown, right? But you want to know what I am into? The revolution. Hitting the road in a new Toyota from Arlington Toyota. So what do you say? Join the Arlington Toyota Revolution and save big with financing as low as 0% on select new models. 0%. Or join the Revolution with up to $8,500 off select new Toyotas. I like saving $8,500, don't you? Plus, every new Toyota purchase from Arlington comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. And Arlington's 60-day exchange program. That's 60 days to love your new Toyota purchase or exchange it for one that you do. Now's the time to save big and join the revolution in a new Toyota from Arlington Toyota. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/0% for full details.
Start your new year off healthy. Get screened at Ackerman Urology for common cancers of the prostate, bladder, and kidney. Early detection is key with 5 locations across Northeast Florida. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
If you've played sports or still lead an active life, chances are joint pain is nothing new. This is Dr. George Barry of Barry Orthopedics, and we like to be your option when it comes to taking care of your body and getting back in the game. From shoulders to elbows to hip and knee pain, Barry Orthopedics can diagnose and treat a variety of injuries that are causing you pain. We are Barry Orthopedics and online at barryorthopedics.com. With more than 30 years of experience, our team is here to care for your entire family.
Find out more at barryorthopedics.com. That's BAHRI orthopedics.com.
Seminole Hard Rock Tampa is excited to bring you live craps, roulette, and sports betting. All under one roof, hotter than the Florida sun. Feel the luck of the dice. Watch the roulette wheel spin and scream for your touchdown as the big screen comes alive. Dine like a rock star. Sip cocktails that shimmer. Then dive into the heart of Las Vegas right here in Tampa Bay. Live craps, roulette, sports betting is here. Get in on the action now. Only at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa. Located off of I-4 near I-75. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-10-MINUTE.
Helmets and Heels.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
I'm Max Fink, and I'll bring you the Gator Report several times weekly to keep you connected to Gainesville.
The Gator Report, put together by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go, Gators! Don't go through another year with all that high-interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it all out now. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech gets you approved and funded in as little as 1 day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, and personal loans, saving over $1,500 per month. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt-free by this time next week. You can. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now, 904-999-1508, or visit loanpronto.com. Get your free quote now with no hard credit pull at 904-999-1508. Equal housing.
722-1111. Ring in the new year with a new boat. Don't miss the Jacksonville Boat Show, January 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center. Presented by ViStar Credit Union. Tickets at boatjacks.com. Come buy a boat.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
I do want to hit a little bit of college basketball here in this final segment on a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels. But first, to just further put a bow on our discussion surrounding the Jaguars head coaching vacancy, which will now enter week 2, the second full week, I should say, of the head coaching search. I do want to point out not only Albert Breer reporting that Liam Cohen had a positive lone interview with your Jacksonville Jaguars, our friend John Shipley of Sports Illustrated got on good intel from a senior NFL executive that Liam, quote, was nothing short of outstanding in his interview. His knowledge of the game, both offensively and defensively, was eye-opening, as well as his handles on the responsibilities and how he would lead a franchise, which, as I just noted, I've heard from people around the league. The thought is, despite the fact that this is his first ever head coaching interview, despite the fact that, yes, he's only been a play calling OC, he's been an OC 2 years in the NFL, but play calling OC only 1 year, the expectation is that he would have the capacity to not only hire a staff, but lead said staff. Also of note, BetOnline has taken the odds off the board. They're the only sports book that I know right now that currently has the odds for the next head coach in each locale. Those are currently off the board. That or their website's under operation right now. Maybe that's the case, but that's across the board. You can't find odds for anybody right now, and so maybe just file that one away. Maybe there's some movement going on with Aaron Glenn meeting in person with the Jets and Saints tomorrow and Wednesday.
All right, when it comes to college basketball, I tweeted this out. Florida is 16-2 overall, Florida men's basketball, after beating Texas on Saturday. And they're tied for 5th in the SEC as far as the conference standings, because they're 3-2 in the SEC. But 16-2 overall, only 2 losses. Yeah, against SEC teams, of course, Kentucky and then Missouri. When it comes to Florida gymnastics, by the way, lost at LSU. Crowd was about 13,500. But Florida's first gymnast, Sloan Blakely, up on the uneven bars, fell. Oh. So your very first gymnast in a road meet against the defending national champions, your very first apparatus falls, and she's one of your best, most experienced gymnasts. And yet they were still able to come back, and they only lost by a point. And LSU has some phenomenal athletes when it comes to gymnasts, when it comes to Aaliyah Finnegan and Haley Bryant as well. But just wanted to say they at least battled back. It was close. They had a fairly good performance. But again, you're at LSU, who is the defending national champion and a team that has more experience than this team does with Florida. But so I had to record that because I was at Bunko. And I told y'all that there was the crazy sock contest, and I spent way too much time finding some crazy socks. But I did come out with the victory, so that's good
I'm very
news.
proud of you. And those
Thank
were
you.
some crazy socks. You sent me the picture.
I did.
It was like a turtle burger with a cat. And
There was a cat on top of a cheeseburger on top of a sea turtle. So yeah, the
I think
craziest
the sea
socks I could
turtle was
find.
like in the burger, wasn't it?
You could buy those?
Oh yeah, you have
Okay.
to buy
Well, I
them.
thought you said some of the ladies were like
Creating,
yeah.
That was in the past. Nobody
Oh, okay.
created their socks this year,
Oh,
but yeah.
Well, next year you got to tape an actual burger. And
right.
Next year, I may not be invited, so I don't
Just
have to
get
worry
the
about
candy
that yet.
version and just keep it in the plastic. It's fine.
Yeah. What did you want to mention as far as men's basketball?
Oh yeah, just that, both the AP poll just came out, but both my ballot and the actual AP top 25 reflect 9 teams from the SEC out of the top 25 teams in the country, according to the Associated Press voters. I have 6 in the top 10 for a second straight week. My ballot pretty much is on par with the poll until there's a little bit of a discrepancy with Houston, who I think is a fascinating case study.
Barely beat UCF.
Yeah, for many reasons. But the Metrics Media Mafia love them. If you go to Ken Palm, Bart Torvik, they're like right there with Duke and Alabama as a top 3 team across the board. Ken Palm, Bart Torvik, Ken Palm, or I said Ken Palm twice, Evan Mia. And so, yeah, Houston's an interesting one. I feel like with the style of play that Kelvin Sampson and his team play, where with just the defensive efficiency numbers, even if their record maybe doesn't reflect it, even if their strength of schedule doesn't reflect it, when it comes to the metrics and evaluating team rankings, that's part of what inflates them. And that's not to say that they're not a good team, because I definitely think they are. But I think that that's part of why sometimes the voters will just look at the Ken Palm and the net rankings, and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's how I have to vote. And it's like, no, you got to pass the eye test. For anyone who's ever wondered, like, as an AP voter, what's like the standard, or like what thresholds do you have to pass? There's none. It's left. I have no issue admitting that. Like, it's left open for your interpretation of whoever you believe the top 25 teams are. Like, I have a certain way of doing it. I pull up all the metrics. I pull up a couple other rankings of some national pundits who watch way more college basketball than I do and what they believe. Like, for example, like I follow Gary Parrish of CBS Sports, his top 25 and 1 that he updates daily. And he lives outside of Oxford, Mississippi. And so he believes in Ole Miss and Memphis. He has a radio show in Memphis. He believes in them perhaps a bit more than the national consensus. But at the same time, I watched Florida in their opener, and I've watched Florida with my own 2 eyes in person and on television almost every minute of every game so far. And so even when the rest of the national conversation had yet to catch up on the Gators because of, their strength of schedule is 300 and whatever it was, I was still hell-bent on no, they were a top 10 outfit.
Yeah.
And obviously they've proven to be so far. And again, Gator
Number 5 in the country.
Yes, number 5 in the country. They are also number 5 on the O'Brien ballot. And Gator
Yet 5th in the SEC standing.
Yeah, exactly.
Tied for fifth.
Also, I mean, the irony of both Auburn and Alabama being top 5 teams in basketball is not lost on me. Is Alabama a basketball state? Many are asking. They are certainly going to, I would think, if so long as they don't get picked off, if both go far in the tournament. Neither made the college football playoff this year, so I think the jokes will be flowing. But I do want to once again...
Really good coaches in Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates.
Yes.
In Auburn, Alabama, respectively.
And especially with Nate Oates and Mark Sears, the presumptive preseason National Player of the Year, who was not performing up to snuff. He's now back to similar numbers on an average basis to what he posted a year ago. But when he had such a slow start where I think he was shooting like 29% from the floor and it was like less than 25% from 3, people were panicked. A credit to Nate Oates that he's kept them on the path. I think certainly he's a team that he leads a team. And you could look at it and you could say, oh, they loaded up in the portal. They go out, they get Cliff from Rutgers, even though they already had 2 centers and they have the Dakota Durant. Did they really need to go do that? Kind of like going out and getting Quinshon Judkins when you have Travion Henderson. Well, look at where Ohio State is now, and I anticipate Alabama being maybe not in the national championship, but in a similar situation. And to Auburn, look, Janai Broome is, as of right now, with the exception of Cooper Flagg and all he's been able to do in his lone season in college, he is the presumptive player of the year frontrunner. And
He's in a boot, though.
Right. We don't know when we're going to see him after he suffered that significant ankle sprain against South Carolina. And Auburn still demolished Mississippi State, just got by Georgia without him. And that is a credit to Bruce Pearl as well. So
that was a wild ending to that game. The Auburn-Georgia one was. Speaking of panic, people in Gainesville, I'm sure, were panicked in the beginning of the Florida-Texas game.
That's what I wanted to say.
Neither team could make a bucket to save their lives. It was like 1 for 6 from the floor for Florida, 1 for 8 from the floor for
9
Texas.
fouls between the two.
Yeah, and then by the end, Florida rolls on to a very easy victory. And so I think sometimes let the game
That's been
develop.
kind of their season. Like they start slow, right?
It depends. Each game is a little bit different. Some games they come out of the gates like flying high, and then they end up scoring nearly 100 points. And then other games, there's been a couple games where they've been slow.
But to that point, Taylor, that's why I believe in Florida. They can be behind double figures, down 15, and they're never out of it.
They're like, oh, yeah, we're playing, by the way.
Because their defensive efficiency, other than a couple games, is really good. Kobe Bray, like we talked about for Kentucky, went off. Caleb Grill for Missouri went off. But for the most part, unless there's like one guy that has a freak shooting night, for the most part,
those are their 2 losses.
Right. Their defensive efficiency is or defensive efficiency is good. And they crash the glass, both offensively and defensively. And when you do that, you're always giving your team a second chance.
But I think even going back to our conversation and to truly cool down, back to our conversation about the Detroit Lions, what did we all question here in one way or another in our second segment of the day? The Lions and the style of play of which they play when they were playing from behind, down 10 against the Commanders, and questioning, hey, situational awareness when you're down double digits. Was there a sense of A, urgency, B, awareness? And I think, and granted, it's a different sport, but I think that you see that with Florida each and every night. There's no panic, and there's also a recognition of, okay, if this is what they're showing us, we're going to counter with this. The shots are going to keep falling. The shots are going to fall eventually. Let's not get away from who we are. Let's not panic. Start pulling up from 35 feet out and just start chucking threes.
I'll cool down Taylor by saying that Kim Mulkey is a wonderful person. She gave Kelly Rae Finley, the women's basketball coach for Florida, a baby present because Kelly Rae Finley is expecting a child, and so
Mia's favorite person.
Yeah, and so because I heard that Kim Mulkey, that's what happened once upon a time with legendary Tennessee head coach. With Pat Summitt, she gave Kim Mulkey a present when Kim was expecting, and so that tradition has continued.
Pay
and
it
so,
forward.
yes, despite one person on this show despising Kim Mulkey, I just had to bring that to light.
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, the Kim Caldwell baby bump. I'm so excited to run with this bit for the rest of basketball season. She's due today, by the way, the Tennessee head women's basketball coach. I think they're inducing her today, or at the very least, today's her due date. She's probably getting induced some point this week. I cannot wait for Tennessee to rattle off like a 6-game, 7-game win streak, and we can talk about the baby bump. I am so all in on the baby bump. And to Kim Mulkey, look, she's leading one of 2 undefeated teams left in women's college basketball. There's no undefeated teams left in men's college basketball. She has 2. Her strength of schedule is, of course, always going to be questioned, especially in the non-con, but she does play in the Southeastern Conference, her LSU Tigers do, and they have a big one on Thursday. They get the Gamecocks, who are
Can't wait to see her jacket.
On all cylinders.
Her jacket, Kim Mulkey's, wasn't too crazy yesterday because Florida played LSU in women's basketball yesterday. That's why I saw the baby present being given, but it wasn't as wild. Shaq was there, obviously, too.
There was one, this was maybe 3 weeks ago or so, and this thing lit up. It had lights in it, and it was like
it was a Christmas tree sweater, I'm sure.
Crazy. But can I share a stat with you guys real quick? This is just something to going back to some of these games from over the weekend. So the Ravens haven't lost a game this season when Derrick Henry gets 85-plus rushing yards.
He had 84 yesterday.
84 yards.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
I did know that. But also, I'm sure that stat can be tweaked, too, or can be looked into further. When Derrick Henry's had 85-plus rushing yards, they also probably haven't had as many turnovers, right? They haven't given the ball away as much. So you can't turn the ball over multiple times in a playoff game and expect to win it. You just can't. Exactly. All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
Joe Cowart joins us now, complaining that we don't have anything on the TVs here in the studio. We've been really busy breaking down all the weekend
Sorry,
action.
we're working here, Joe.
Normally, I don't want to give the secret away. Y'all watch the soap operas. It's not a big deal.
Oh, definitely
No,
not.
we are not.
We know how to use the Roku.
That's
which
Baloo
is,
from Overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan
Joe,
Hickett, probably, yeah.
Joe, pick your 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl after this past weekend.
Look, I don't like to talk about the bad bets that I make, but it seems like I bring them up all the time.
So you do like to talk about them.
So I had the Ravens and the Lions.
Okay.
And I had the Ravens at
both favorites, by the way.
Yeah, I had bet these way back.
Okay.
In other words, this was
Oh, this is like preseason.
Yeah.
That was your Super Bowl matchup?
Yeah,
Yes.
this was probably September after Baltimore started out slow. Buffalo started out slow. Anyway, I had in the neighborhood of, I think it was 9.5 to 1 with Detroit, 8 to 1 with the Ravens, both of them to win the Super Bowl. And I was just feeling so good. Didn't mention it to anybody. Didn't want to mention it to anybody. And now it's over. It's gone.
And had both teams won today, you would be a happy person.
Oh my gosh! 'Cause I would have been one step closer. Yes. And then I obviously felt like when I saw Baltimore piece it together with Derrick Henry, with the defense coming together, they were first down the stretch. And then what Aaron Glenn's defense was able to do to Minnesota revived my confidence on that side of the ball. And so anyway, I was feeling great. Not so much anymore. Not so much.
But it was fun to see an upstart team like the Commanders get to where now they're going to obviously play in the NFC Championship. It gives you hope that it can be turned around very quickly.
Yeah, I guess the great success stories out there are what Dan Quinn has been able to do as a retread. Cliff Kingsbury is a retread. Jaden Daniels is this surprise rookie. Some people were even kind of counting him out early, like where's his work ethic at and all this kind of stuff. And we all on XL Primetime just saying, we all marveled at what he did in an LSU uniform. There's no reason to think this cat wouldn't be able to keep it going. So anyway, that's a great success story. And then when you think of what Josh Allen and Joe Brady have been able to do, they don't turn the ball over anymore. He was such a liability in terms of making one mistake a game that might cost his team. He doesn't do that anymore. And so, yeah, that's a really good story, too, up in Buffalo.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what's coming up?
Well, we'll definitely be digging into that. Matt is in Atlanta, so we'll say hello to him.
Okay.
With the latest from the national championship game, who has what going for them on each side. So we'll definitely do that with him. Coach Campbell will be in with us as we'll break down all these games and then talk about the coaching search now that Ben Johnson has new availability, and so does Aaron Glenn.
All right, sounds good, Joe.
All right,
Thanks.
thank y'all.
And by the way, I'll cool down with the fact that I'm going camping in this frigid weather. Thankfully, it's in a cabin, though, so we'll be fine. Hopefully, we'll see some manatees, and hopefully the rain doesn't drive them away. But everybody stay dry and stay warm here in Jacksonville, FLA. That's going to do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for Dylan Denmark, filling in for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is coming up next.
Now you can watch 10